So for the first one, there's one little quirk to this one that makes it difficult. Can anybody tell me what it is? The minus in front of the parentheses. How do we treat that? It's a negative 1 times the parentheses. Because the negative doesn't just go with the 3x, it also has to go with the 7. Everything in the parentheses. So, we have negative 1 times 3x is negative 3x. We also have negative 1 times 7, which is negative 7. What else do we still have to do? We got to bring down the 5x first. Yep. And then we will combine 5x and negative 3x make 2x minus 7 equals 1. And then we add 7. Good. So we've got 2x over here equals 1 plus 7 is 8. And then divide by 2. X equals 4. How many of you had x equals 4? First try? Cool. The second one's a little bit ugly. A lot of bit ugly. So we got our equal sign. We're going to start just on the left side. On the left side, we do have the parentheses, but there's nothing to do inside any of these parentheses. So we're looking at something we can do to the parentheses. And this first one is times 3. So 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times 3 is 9. What's next? Negative 2 times 5x is negative 10x. And negative 2 times negative 7 is positive 14. Now, because this is a positive, so it turns it negative. This is negative, so it turns it positive. It's okay. It's okay to ask. Combine then the 6x and the negative 10x makes negative 4x. 9 and 14 make positive 23. Good. So now we've reduced everything we can on the left side. Let's go to the right side. What should we do there? 2 times 2x is 4x. 2 times negative 5 is a negative 10. 5 times 4x is positive 20x. And 5 times negative 13, negative 65. And we still have the minus 4x there. What's next? 4x, positive 20x, and negative 4x make 20x. And then, so negative 10 and negative 65 make a negative 75. Then what? Okay, yeah, we've got an x on each side, so we're going to get rid of the smaller one, which is the negative 4. So we're going to add 4x. Make that go away, leaving us with 23 here. Adding 4x on the other side makes that 24x and minus 75. And then add the 75. The 23 is already by itself over here. We got to get the x by itself, so we want to get rid of everything that's around the x. So we've got 98 equals 24x divided by 24 gives us that x equals 4.083333 or 4 and 112. I know you get that fraction or decimal and it throws you a bit, but that is correct. Any questions on those two?
Are we going to do some review on this stuff for like the day of the test? Right,
yeah.
We do the test.
We will definitely do some review.
The reason I almost failed out is because I could do it in class just fine.
But a week later it starts to fade.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the funny things about math is when you're doing it in class, it seems like it makes sense and it's easy. And then you go home and like you said, you go home and you just have no clue. And the reason for that is in class, the hard part of math is not doing it. It's figuring out what to do. And in class, there's little clues or some little push that pushes you onto what to do. So actually doing it is easy, and it feels easy in class. But then you get home and you don't have those little clues or me giving you a little hint as to what needs to be done. I mean, even so much as just my pen hovering in a spot pointing at something gives you a clue what needs to be done next, you know. And as you get home and those little things aren't there. I mean, for the right price, I'll come to your house and hover my pen over your paper so you know what to do. It's probably can't afford it. So anyway, we left. What's that? Well, and I'm expensive. Just be totally honest with you. So, just a little review from last time. How do we do something like this? What would be our first step? Oh yeah, this is going to be exactly like having like 3x plus 5 equals 38. The first thing we would do over here is we'd subtract the 5. Well, the same thing here. We're going to subtract the 2 and 7/8. Leaves us with 1 1/4 x. Subtracting 2 and 7/8 from 15 1/2 is going to give us 12 5/8. Now I'm going to leave it up to you guys to do that fraction subtraction if you want to. If you do a fraction calculator, or if you want to find the common denominators and do it by hand, that's fine. But I'll just let you trust me for right now. That's 12 5/8. What would be our next step? We're going to divide by 1 1/4. Okay. Which will give us x equals 10 and 1/10, isn't it? You take my word for it. 12 5/8 divided by 1 1/4. 12 times 8 is 96, plus 5 is 101/8. Look familiar so far? 1 times 4 is 4, plus 1 is 5/4. So 101 over 8 times 4 over 5. We multiply by the reciprocal. 8 and 4 will both be divided by 4 to give me 1 and 2. So 101 over 10. So it's 10 and 1/10. Ten and 1/10. 101 divided by 10 is 10 and 1/10. So on this one now, where do we start? Multiply by 6. Very good. Multiply by 6 makes the 6 go away on bottom there. We have 5x minus 2 equals, multiplying the other side by 6, 3 times 6 is 18. So what we're basically doing there is if you look at the variable x, order of operation says we have to do everything on top first. So it was multiplied by 5 and then 2 is subtracted from it. Then the last thing that was done when they put this equation together was dividing by the 6. So if you recall, when we take it apart, the first thing we take off is going to be the last piece that's put on. Since it was divided by 6 last, first thing we're going to do is multiply by 6 to take it apart. So that takes that piece off. 3 times 6 is 18. Now what do we do? Add 2. So 5x equals 20, and then divide by 5. X equals 4. Yep. Yep. Yeah, whatever it is, you're going to multiply by to get rid of it. So if we have 7x plus 3 over 5 equals 9. Give that one a shot in your notes. See what you can do. So our first step, as we were saying, is to multiply by the 5 just to get rid of that, get that out of there, to eliminate it. So we multiply the other side by 5 to get 45. And yeah, what's left over here is the 7x plus 3. Perfect. We subtract 3. So 7x equals 42. And then Divide by 7. We got it. So x equals 6. Make sense?
Yep.
How about this one? Give that one a shot. See what happens. Okay, so our first step, you'll see here, just a little bit off. Our first step is to multiply by 2/3. That's gone. Multiply by 2/3 over here. So 3/4 x minus 1 1/4. So 1 1/2 is 3 halves times 2/3, which is 6 over 6 or 1. Now we have to do what?
We have to
Add 1 1/4, right? 3/4 x equals 2 1/4. You are correct. You didn't add it correctly. So now we're going to divide by 3/4. You get x equals 3. We'll try another one just to make sure you've got. I know some of you are still working, but let's take a look at this. First step is going to be what? Multiply by 7/8. So this is 2/3 x minus 1/4 equals. Now we can cross cancel the 4 and the 8 to give me 2 and 1. So that's going to multiply to make 7 over 10. Got that part? Good. Now what? Add a 4th. I'm sensing some frustration there. Just a little? You okay? 20 would be your common denominator. Comes out to be 19/20. You have 14/20 and 5/20 makes 19/20. Then you do divide by 2/3, which is what, 1 and 17/40. Without a calculator, 19/20 divided by 2/3 is 19/20 times the reciprocal, so 3 over 2. 19 times 3 is 57. 20 times 2 is 40. 57 out of 40 is 1, with 17 left over. Because 2/3 is multiplying x, so we're going to divide by 2/3. Yeah. What you could do is say that it's x is multiplied by 2 and divided by 3, so you could then multiply by 3 and then divide by 2. But it's easier just to say it's 2/3 times x. Technically, the 3 isn't dividing the x, it's dividing the 2 to make the fraction. So you got to look at what's been done to the x, not what's been done to the other numbers. Yeah. Did you? Try that one. Okay, so step 1 would be add the 3 and 5/8. So we got 3/4 x equals, anybody? 11 and 3/16. Now we're going to divide by the 3/4, and you're going to need it as an improper fraction anyway. So 11 and 3/16, 11 times 16 is 176. So yes, it's 179 over 16. Divided by 3/4 is going to be times 4 over 3. 16 and 4, 1 and 4. So it's 179 over 12. So 12 goes into 17 once with 5 left over, bring down the 9. 12 goes in that 4 times, that'd be 48 with 11 left over, so 14 and 11 twelves. Fourteen and 7 twelves. How many of you had that?
I thought.
A few, more than I thought. Good deal. You laugh as
I
if
realized what happened.
Oh. You would have had it. Okay. So anyway,
Divided by 3/4, I can tell you the answer to that. Oh. Oh, that's not fair. That's no challenge today.
so on this one, any ideas? Find common denominators would be a great way to start. Now, and in fact, let's do this. I'm going to jump down here for a second, and I'm going to do something similar to this. Let's say we have x over 5 plus x over 9 equals 28. We could do this in two ways. We could make this 1/5 x plus 1/9 x equals 28. And then make common denominators and combine them just like we would if we had, 2x plus 9x equals 44. We do 2 and 9 make 11x. So we could do the same thing here and say 1/5 and 1/9 make 14/45 x equals 28. And we could divide by 14/45. That's one way of doing it. But the easier way, or in some cases, to some people the easier way, is to think of find the common denominator, which is 45. And then multiply this whole equation by 45. So now we have 45 times x over 5. Well, 45 over 1 times x over 5. We can cross cancel. The x and the 5 and the 45, give me 1 and 9. 9 times x is 9x. And then we have 45 times x over 9. So 45 over 1 times x over 9. And again, we cross cancel. 1 and 5 gives us 5x. You are correct. Now we do have to remember to do 45 times 28, which is 1260. There you go. And then we need to do just combine 9x and 5x make 14x equals 1260. And then divide by 14. X equals 90. You know how many years it's been since somebody caught on to that? You know I'm getting old when my movie references don't get recognized for like years on end. Yes, it is. Yeah. So x equals 90. So anyway, back to this one. We could make that 5/4 x plus 3/8 equals 2/3 x minus 7/4 x. But that would be tough to work with the fractions. We can get rid of the denominators by finding one common denominator. 4, 8, and 3, it's going to be 24. So we're going to do 24 times the 5x over 4. So 24 over 1 times 5x over 4. We will cross cancel. The 4 and 24 gives me 1 and 6. 6 times 5x is 30x. And then we'll have the 24 times 3/8, so 24 over 1 times 3 over 8. 1 and 3, so 3 times 3 is 9, so plus 9. We have to make sure we multiply both sides of the equation, so we have to keep multiplying over here. 24 times 2/3 x, so 24 over 1 times 2x over 3. 3 and 24 make 1 and 8, so 8 times 2x is 16x. And then 24 times the negative 7x over 4. Now we have to be careful with that negative. 24 over 1 times, we can put the negative with the top or the bottom. I'm going to put it with the top, negative 7x over 4. I can put the negative with the top of the fraction or the bottom of the fraction, but not both. Because the negative times negative will be a positive, or negative divided by negative will be a positive. So 4 and 24 cross cancel, give me 1 and 6. 6 times negative 7x is a negative 42x. Then what? Simplify. We've got 16 minus 42 is a negative 26x. Now looking at this, we've got an x on each side. And the negative 26x is the smaller one. But if we get rid of the negative 26x, we're left with nothing over there. So here's one of the few times where it'd probably be easiest to get rid of the larger one. Get rid of the 30x. So I'm going to subtract 30x. That's gone. Leaving me with 9 equals a negative 56x. Then what do I have to do? Divide by negative 56. So that's negative 956. Sure. Because I cross-canceled the 4 and the 24, both divided by 4 to give me 1 and 6. So now it's really 6 times 5, which is 30x. There will be not quite that bad. Not quite that bad. There will be a couple in the homework, but I will assure you there won't be anything quite that terrible on the test. There will be things possibly like this. You should never tell me that. I had one who really wanted to. Go ahead and give that one a shot in your notes. So of course our first step here would be to do 2/3 times 2 and 1/4, which is going to give us what? 3 over 2, x. So then we got 2/3 times a negative 5 3/5, which is 56 over 15. Good confused, Earl. So then this is 2.5. I'm just going to change that to 5 over 2 while I'm at it. Actually, probably not. I'll leave. Actually, what I'll probably end up doing is this. 56 over 15 is, or negative 56 over 15 is a negative 3 and 11/15. And I have to combine those. The negative 3 and 11/15 and the positive 2.5, which is going to give us negative what? 1 and 7/30. Does that look right? So a common denominator would be 30ths. This is negative 3 and 22/30. This is negative or positive 2 and 15/30. A negative and a positive means you're actually subtracting. Does that make sense? They're both opposite directions. So technically you're going to take 3 and 22/30 and subtract 2 and 15/30. 22 minus 15 is 7/30. 3 minus 2 is 1, so it's a negative 1 and 7/30. That equals 7 and 1/8. You start throwing negatives in with the fractions, it really gets ugly, doesn't it? So now we have to add 1 and 7/30. So we got 3 halves x equals 7 and 1/8 plus 1 and 7/30 is what? 8 and 43 120. Okay. Then 1/2. So now we got to divide by 3 halves. X equals, well, 8 and 43 120 is 1,003 120. Divided by 3 halves, going to be times 2/3. 2 and the 120 combine out to make 1 and 60. So you have 1,003 over 180, which is 5 and 103 180. I probably wouldn't get quite that nasty with you on a test or quiz either, but there will be fractions in them. On page 258, it's actually exercise 6.4, 1 through 25, the odds. I'd given that one out last time, but we didn't get through all of them, so now you can get to it. For those of you that were gone on Friday, there's also a page 253. That's exercise 6.3, 1 through 59, the odds. Now again, these are long problems, so I'm not expecting you to do every one of them, but there's enough there to practice if you need to.